He's in Ohio. That's his thing, Mr. Hicks.
Well, it's a happy Monday, seeing how we all got to see it.
Yeah, I got awake, but my goodness, it's evening now.
Well, the thing is, my dad, when I was younger, wanted us to say good morning, no matter what time it was when we first laid eyes on him.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. All right.
So that's the way he wanted us to greet him, no matter what time of day. It can be in the evening. We have to say good morning when we first laid eyes on him. He said the only person that could not do that was the person he woke up next to in the morning. And it wasn't me.
There you go.
So, just say good morning.
Well, Anthony, good morning.
In my world, it's 5 o'clock somewhere.
Yeah, there you go, John.
OJ, I got OJ in mind.
OJ, no, that's bourbon.
Have you gotten the air, John?
Yeah. Got my air conditioning fixed. Yes, it was brutal for 4 days here. Turned out to be a fuse, of all things, a $7 fuse.
$7 fuse? Really?
Yeah,
That's unusual.
it is. Went on YouTube and they told me all the things that could be wrong with it. And I changed all that and none of it worked. And technician came by and said, you need a fuse.
Well, you gotta love YouTube.
I did, yeah, but it was 4 days of next to living in Georgia, I guess, or Florida.
Not that hot here.
Hey guys, I know I'm gonna have to do this again, but I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go ahead and do it now.
I just went to get my earbuds. I can't hear you guys too well
I am going to put here
on my
the,
headset.
I'm gonna be going over a PDF today, and I'm dropping a link to the PDF right here. I'll also send this to everybody in the email, and I'm gonna put it here so you can grab it here if you want to, in case you didn't see the email.
Didn't get the email.
Huh?
I didn't get the email. Oh, I know. Maybe I need to. Yeah.
Oh, you got a resource guide, huh? Okay.
I sure do.
I'll get it from the email. Let me see if it came.
Also see if I can drop it, pull it right into here too. I might be able to do it that way. Let me see if it's gonna let me. It does. Yeah, I just pulled it up into the. I just put it in there as a link as well. So if for any reason you can't grab the PDF that I just dropped, then just click on the link or check your email. So I put it 3 different places. Don't be talking about I don't have it, I can't find it, I can't get it, it won't click, it won't open, it won't work on my computer. It's there 3 ways. It's there 3 ways. So what we're gonna be talking about today is I'm gonna ask about people making calls again, and with a little bit of have a little bit of call reluctance conversation. And I talked to you guys about this method of calling before, but I'm going to give you all a PDF along with it, which is what I just dropped, so that maybe it'll help you work through it a little bit easier now that you have like a little bit of a resource guide, not just hearing it on the call and then forgetting what I said or not being in a position to take notes and all of that good stuff. That can happen. So that's that. This is my Marble Madness method. So you will see it's 3-page was really a 2-page. It's 3 pages. The first page is the cover page. So, you know, it's not really going to have any information on the first page, but the other 2 pages will have some different ways to do the technique. And it'll also let you know what you need to have to do it, which is not going to be anything but a bag of marbles and 2 glasses to put the marbles in. That's all you need. So you probably have that in the house. If you don't, a bag of marbles, probably $1 or $2. And of course, the containers can be anything, plastic containers, glass containers, whatever you can do with that. So all of that's on the PDF. So let's go ahead and do our introduction for the coaches first, trainers first, and then we will get into some information here. So I'm gonna turn it over to Ms. Sharanda Ivy first, and then John, and then I'll do a quick introduction after that.
Alrighty, cool. My name is Sharanda Ivy here out of Byron, Georgia. Been with Legal Shield now for 9 years. 50K ring earner, CDLP state trainer, business solutions field trainer, recognized as #1 field trainer for 2019 and 2021 with the LOJ award. Top group opener, small biz group opener, top small group opener, and small biz producer. We've written over 1,000. We've earned 1,000 production app award, and just just focused on this space with those accolades. Learning my major, my minor, and so when I decided to do that, my business changed. So been focused on this space for now almost 5 years, and so with that. I also host the accountability call on Thursday nights. Just FYI, if you sign up for that, I check that and the email goes out the day of the accountability call. So if you sign up yesterday, you won't get an email until Thursday, FYI, before the call. So I normally check that before on Thursdays. And if somebody is signed up, I'll send out an email. Other than that, it's the same information every week. And so if you got an email in the past, most likely that information will work. So with that being said, I'll turn it over to you, John.
All right, thank you, Sharanda. My name is John Hoffman. I'm the West Coast field trainer and certified trainer for CDLP for Legal Shield. Been my 15th year in this business. First half of that time was part-time while I worked my own truck tire business. So that's what got me involved in the CDLP part of the business. Actually, I'm going to do this little segue. This is a big week in the trucking business. This is Driver Appreciation Week. And that's what I'll be doing. When you're in the CDLP business, this is a big week for those associates that get to go to driver companies and sit there in their driver room and talk to as many drivers as possible, giving away candy and maybe a raffle or two. And so I've got all that prepared, and gives you a chance to get a second shot at some of these drivers that maybe got the commercial driving plan, but not the legal plan. If you put some of the supplements in it too, it gives you another chance to build on your business. So this is like a really big week if you're in this business. Anyway, so that's what I'll be doing the rest of the week. Instead of working the phone, I'll be in person doing some sitting in driver rooms for about 10 or 12 hours a day. That's what it takes. And then talking to a lot of drivers. I've been field training with long distance associates. Talked to someone from Chicago today, and that's where I'm from originally. So I'm anxious to work with him. But so let me know if you'd like me to work with you and maybe helping you with some phone calls or some scripts. And I haven't got quite the notoriety that Sharanda has yet, but that's the aim, that's the goal. And then one day you can call me Sharanda Jr.
I was trying
Yeah, awesome stuff, John. Awesome stuff, John. Great.
You're gonna have to explain that name for 2 reasons.
Well, that's
I know one of the reasons.
Well, that's where you're on the right track. You're on the right track. I mean, that's how I got field trainer of the year, working with associates all across the states, the different states, and definitely doing it on the phone. So you're on the right track, John.
All right, good stuff. So real quickly, Robert Dunbar here. I've been with Legal Shield 13 years and been a trainer for, I guess now 7 or 8 years. Trained on all different sides of Legal Shield. So my stopping training point is the CDLP space. So one of the certification trainers, also a CDL field trainer. Just love the business, love the idea of going in and talking to truckers and being in a niche that's not so overwhelmed with salespeople and not only that, legal shield people. So sometimes you bump into them a lot when you are doing a regular group side that does not have anything to do with CDL. So you don't see as many competitive companies or other legal shield associates in this space when you're doing this niche. And I like niche things. I like being able to call and have something direct to say that's direct to that industry. It's always easier in sales when you're picking up the phone and calling with a message that is for the person you're calling, as opposed to picking up the phone and calling and just saying, do you need services for, right? When it's a niche call, it's always an easier close, in my opinion. So that's another reason why I like the CDLP space as well. So we are going to have a few conversations today. Of course, we're going to have some participation in the chat. So one of the questions I'm going to ask is, how many people have a challenge making 20 or 30 calls because you're concerned about what you're going to hear on the other end of the phone, right? You're thinking about the result, right? You're thinking about the result of that call, or the person saying they're not interested, or saying, why are you calling me, or having a conversation with you that you do not know how to respond to. So if that's you, put a 1 in the chat. Just got to figure out where the audience is at. Put a 1 in the chat. That's you.
Priscilla White, Meredith Raw, Tracy Brown. Tracy, you making calls. What are you talking about? Oh my God. Julie, Ursula Roderick, Adrian Bond, Phil Arnold. Oh, Tracy laughed at it. Jim Hicks.
Okay.
So that's all you got so far. Cubadine Kendrick. Cubadine. I think I said it right. Cubadine. Anthony. Really? Anthony? Well, Anthony Watson. Barbara Smith. Lou and Jacqueline Alaman.
Alamont, yeah.
Alaman.
Alamont.
Alaman. Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. My bad.
Yeah,
How you pronounce it?
Alamon.
Alaman. Okay.
Alamont.
That's that Latin. You got to say Alamon. They corrected me last week. Alamon and Guzman.
Okay. Wilma Haynes.
Yeah. I lost the website for violations. You lost it.
Right. Come on, man.
You ain't losing it. It don't belong to you.
Doing all the training. If you lost the website for violations, that means you need to go back and look at the 1 through 4 safety training meetings, and your overviews. So
And
that,
also, do y'all know that if you start punching that in your code, in your address bar, it'll finish. It's a government site, so most of the time it'll finish on its own. So when you're going to look for companies, all you gotta do is start typing that bad boy, and it'll finish out for you. So yeah, both of them safer and FMCSA. They'll both finish out for you.
got Jody, Gwendolyn Price. So Dan, you need to check your spelling because it hasn't changed. So or go back to the 4th annual or one of the annual trainings. All that information will be there for you to look up those violations. Because that's one tip we can give tonight is if you just looked at that one time and you don't go back, that it won't serve you. We have to go back to the trainings and definitely use that as a reference. You know, all the replays are good, but those 4 trainings there have a lot of information that we should, go to the field or pick up the phone and do the activity and then go back and reflect back. After you listen at the training again, you can pick up more nuggets. I mean, we should always do that. That's at our fingertips through Dunbar's YouTube that gives us the ability to do that. So if you're not taking advantage of that, you know, you're missing the mark for your growth, you know, because you will pick up something new. That's like with any training. You hear that on all the other trainings, it's no different here.
Absolutely. So my next question will be now, how many of you all are using any kind of method so that you don't focus on the direct calls? Because y'all, of course, most of you all know where I'm going with this, right? Sales is psychology. You got to trick your brain sometimes. So are you guys literally still just like grabbing your phone and grabbing your list and just like hammering calls out? Put a 2 in the chat if you're using some kind of slick method so that you don't feel like you're about to get jumped on by the 40 people you call them. Anthony said, don't like no's. Don't like those no's. Don't get me started on go for no. Yeah, we'll be here for 2 hours. There we go, Gene. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, it's on my board. Go for no.
Go for no's. So I have a method called the Marble Madness method that I used to do for myself when I was making. When I started doing it, it was because I was making 50 calls a day, and I just, you know, it was just starting to be too much. It's just way too much on me, and you know, because you know how it is. It depends on what mood you're in when you're making calls. Now, you're not always in that mood. You know, we can always look at that person that's like, oh, I'm hammering out these calls, and it's like, well, that's not how I feel every day. But you have to do it every day if you want your business to be consistent, but you are not always going to be in the mood to make phone calls. So one of the things that I've learned to do when it comes to making phone calls is take the focus off of the actual calls and put the focus on your system, your calling system, right? When you're focusing on a system, you're paying more attention to your system, whether it works or doesn't work, than you are on that individual call. When you make those calls, when you give those calls too much attention, you're allowing the prospects you're calling to control your business. Does that make sense, everybody? And I don't want you to do that, because when it gets into, I'm growing a big business and I've got all this stuff going on, systems are what allow things to happen. So I'll go to the example I've used over and over again. And no offense to anybody who owns a McDonald's or who work at one. McDonald's probably has the worst customers, the worst employees, but they make that franchise makes the most money. And why does it? Because their system is so good that the people working there could not have any experience, and the system still works because they teach them a simple system. If you come to McDonald's, this is how you do it, and they can go from any McDonald's to any McDonald's, and it's going to be the same thing. You guys follow? Because of their system. It's not about the best burgers. It's not about the best fries. It's not about the best toys. It's not about any of that. It's about their marketing, because we know McDonald's market to kids because kids control, right? Well, we stop and eat at if you got kids. And then their system is what allows them to be able to hire people who don't have maybe a higher education or a bunch of experience and still let everything run smooth. That's how that works. Well, your system can work the same way, because if you run your system a way that says, okay, I'm doing my system this way and it works. One thing about making phone calls is if you're making phone calls, you're probably going to be making money. It's, you know, even if your product is not that good. So here we know that the product is good. So if you're calling the right prospects, and we know how to find the right prospects, right? We go through the system, we pull companies, we research them, we find the right prospect. So we already passed that part of it in this conversation. This conversation is now calling on the prospects that you created, because if you're calling people who don't need what you have, then it's a higher chance of you closing them. So we're not having that conversation today. We're talking about you have prospects, you're trying to call them, but you're saying I've got a list of 200, 300, 400, 500 prospects, and I can't make 50 calls a day because it's overwhelming. The phone gets heavy. I procrastinate, right? And just by a show of hands, because I can see a lot of you. How many of y'all day for day working from home, you go to make phone calls, and guess what happens? You go in the kitchen, you make a snack, you ironing clothes, you're putting clothes up in the laundry, you're watering your grass in your backyard. Not because those things necessarily need to be done in any emergency situation, but because your brain is finding other things for you to do because you don't want to make calls. So you're like, well, I got to water my grass or it's going to die. Meanwhile, your business is dying, right? I got to feed my dogs, right? I got to walk my cat. Who walks the cat? Right? Who walks the cat? Well, we walking the cat because it's easier to do that than to make phone calls. So we all know that all those things happen to us. So I'm gonna try to give you guys a little hack that I use, the Marble Madness method, which is me simply just taking 2 jars, putting marbles in there. If I say I'm gonna make 30 calls today, I just put the 30 calls in the marble in the glass on maybe the left-hand side. And every time I make a phone call, I pull the marble out and I drop it in the next jar over, right? So my objective now is not to make 30 phone calls, but to get rid of those, but to empty out this one jar and get the marbles into the other jar. And what will happen with your brain is once you start on that track, you no longer care what people say. You're just trying to get through the marble game. And when you get through the marble game and you do that system every day, what happens is you end up making 30 calls or 40 calls, whatever, however many marbles you put in there, and you're going to control that by the amount of marbles. So when you get up, you're simply saying, oh, okay, I'm gonna make 25 calls today. I already blocked the time, right? So I'm just going to go ahead, and you can use this on a blitz. And with the blitz, you can now create data on how many calls you're making, because you know the amount of calls you make depends on how many people answer the phone and how many conversations you have. So what you can do is you can just take your little bag of marbles instead of here and put 10 inside your bucket and start calling when the blitz starts. And then when you run out of those 10, drop 10 more in there. Then drop 10 more in there, see how many you get through, and then document it, right? I did 37 calls today in 2 hours. And then the next Tuesday, you might do 25 calls. The next Tuesday, you might do 40 calls. And now you can kind of track yourself and see why you're making more or less calls. But what happens is your brain automatically, once you give your brain a system to follow, it will focus on that system. And what happens is you no longer say, you know what, I got to make 5 more dials before I'm done. You say, you look in that jar and you say, you know, I got 5, I got to get rid of these marbles. And you just call 5 people. And it doesn't matter what they say. And when you do that, you're going to realize, like, you know what? I took the fear out of it because I'm not scared to move marbles. See, you're scared to make phone calls sometimes, right? Can we at least admit to that? Put your hand in there. I see some of y'all. Sometimes we just afraid to make calls, and not afraid like you're afraid to get into a fight with somebody that's 10 times bigger than you, but it's still a fear. But the fear leaves when you tell your brain, oh, I'm just trying to empty this jar. Sometimes we have to make things really simplistic for ourselves. So we'll talk about how mentally that works for you. So I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen real quick. And John and Sharanda, while I'm talking about this, if you guys have anything y'all want to add, just jump right on in and add.
Well, I normally, I'll just say, because I still have, not the fear, but I mean, I do cold calls. I've always done them, but not necessarily like them. So I really have to trick myself. And so I normally call, a relative or a member or somebody else versus that prospect. And then I make that dial. And I might do that for a while until I feel like I've warmed up and I've taken the edge off. But I'll do it as long as it takes. So if I have to do, prospect warm, I'll do that to get through them. So, and I've done that forever. But I make, cold calls and I make dials. And it just never gets easy for me. And so that's how I handle that. But, so, and you just whatever works for you. And that's how I trick my mind. I do a prospect, a cold call. But normally when I make that call to a prospect that I've never spoken to before, it's crazy how my mind thinks the next time I make that call to them. So if they don't pick up and maybe I call them in a couple of days or the next time I have a call, calling cold calls, I don't feel that heaviness anymore because I've called them once before. So now I feel in my mind, they're kind of warm to me. But that's just me. I mean, that nobody else may not feel that way, but that's how my mind is. So, but that's how I've worked through that over the years, you know, prospect warm, and until, you know, I'm ready to just keep it going. But whatever works for you works.
And that works in so many different ways, what you just said, prospect warm. That's no different than any other exercise we were doing, even if it was an actual exercise. So some people will do, if they're working out, you may have seen people do this in a gym, where they'll do an exercise and then they'll do an exercise that's not as hard on them in between those exercises, just to give their body a quick break before they go back to that main exercise. It's kind of giving you that outlet to get a little bit of a break and not make every call that tough. Something else you kind of said real quickly that I think you all should write down. I don't know if y'all heard Sharanda say this, but y'all, this is important. And I still do this today. Whenever I'm making calls for any particular reason, I do this today. If you pick up the phone, and matter of fact, put a 3 in the chat if you've tried this before too, after I say it. Pick up the phone, whatever time you're gonna make calls. You're gonna make calls at 2 in the afternoon. Before 2 in the afternoon hits, pick up the phone and call some people that have nothing to do with what you're about to call about. Right? It doesn't have to be a CDL customer. You can call a client that you already have just to have a general conversation. So let's say Jackie was one of my members, and I just generally pick up the phone and call her and say, "Hey Jackie, this is Robert Dunbar. I'm just giving you a call. Just said, have you used your membership yet? Oh no, I still haven't used it yet. Have you put the app on your phone yet? Well, I'm just calling to check. Let me know if you need me to help you do that. And I want to make sure you get your will and everything taken care of and take advantage of those perks. I just like to call my customers periodically to see whether they're using the membership, because that's how you're gonna get the most out of it." She says, "Yeah, I got to get that stuff done. I'll give you a call and get it set up, and then I'll say, okay, now get off the phone." Right? That's just me making a phone call. Sometimes I'll call a friend, but it just needs to be a short conversation. Don't call somebody and then get stuck on the phone with them instead of making a call. The point is, again, like Sharanda said, you're tricking your brain. When you say you're going to make phone calls, your brain is like getting into this procrastination, paranoid, phone getting heavy mode, right? Because it knows what making phone calls means. When you start calling some general people, just call 1, 2, 3 people that have nothing to do with your prospecting calls. When you do that, your brain lets the guard down, because it's like, oh, it's not those kind of calls. And then once your brain lets that down, and now you feel like calling, now you'll go right to those prospect calls. So if anybody on this line uses pre-workout, you know exactly what I mean. If you don't feel like going to the gym and then you take your pre-workout before it's time to go to the gym, it makes you want to go to the gym, right? So it's the same thing here. If you don't want to make calls, prospecting calls, just call some people. Don't call a prospect, just call 2 or 3 people, and it will get you in the mood to making phone calls. And now you're going to pick up that phone and it's going to be much lighter. So if anybody's done that before, put a 3 in the chat, because that worked really well. So thanks, Sharanda, for bringing that up, because that is a real simple tip that a lot of people look past when it comes to making calls. It's just breaking the ice by making some general calls. So here's just a couple of things you're going to need for the exercise, right? 1 bag of marbles, 50 or 100 count. 2 separate glass or plastic bowls, preferably dishes that you can see through. Dump the amount of marbles in 1 dish to represent the amount of calls you intend to make, and then dial until you empty dish number 1 into dish number 2. So it's real simple on the exercise. But we're gonna talk about how that exercise works in your mind mentally. So before I go there, John, anything before we go? Because I don't want to skip over you if you got something you want to talk about.
Yeah, really, it's just a mind game. You play with yourself. I do it a little bit different. Like, I reward myself when I do a certain goal. So I want to make 25 goals or 30 goals. I'm going to say, well, I'm going to go out and get that ice cream. Or I wouldn't suggest being intimate with your partner, because you might not want to do your goal at that point. But you just reward yourself, maybe buying a movie or going to a movie. But once you reach your goal, just reward yourself for achieving that. I actually go a little further and say, I'll reward myself when I sign up a client. You know, then that's just a driving motivation for me. That's what drives me to keep going and keep consistently going to, make the sale and ask for the sale, and because I have a goal that I want, and I probably want more than that sale sometimes, but I know that what we have to offer is something that they really want.
Absolutely. No, that's good. And when I before we close out or after we finish going over this, I'm going to bring up something that you just said in relative to another hack that people can use while you're doing what we're talking about now, making those calls. There's different things you can do to make these calls. So good tips there by John too. So, and the good thing about these different things we're talking about is different things are better for different personalities. So what Sharanda said might fit for some of you all, but might not fit for some other people. And then what John said might fit for some not, and same thing with what I'm saying. So try the different ones and see which one fits your personality, but you got to do something to make more calls if you want to make more money. I mean, it's just really that simple. You want to make more money, you're going to have to pick up that phone and make some dials. So I've got 3 different kind of things that's happening here with the Marble Madness mindset. So it says objectifying your sales costs can make you very anxious, which can and will cause procrastination in most cases. So let's focus on a marble movement system, right? Preparing to count the marbles. So the intent, I call this the intentional distraction method. So sometimes you have to intentionally distract yourself. If you're procrastinating from a specific activity, you have to distract yourself with other things. And you have to put other things at the top of mind, meaning you have to know within yourself. I don't care whether it's Luis, I don't care whether it's Jackie, whether it's Sharanda, whether it's John, whether it's Tanya, whether it's Anthony. You've got to know whether you work better, whether you're driven by reward or driven by pain. You've got to find out which one it is so you'll know how to push yourself. You've got to know that. So John just mentioned, hey, I reward myself. But some people, rewards don't work. Some people winning something or saying, okay, I made these calls, so now I'm gonna go get some ice cream, or that might not work for your mindset. So if you're the kind of person that a reward is not gonna help, then you won't be able to reward yourself. It might be pain for you. It might be, if I don't make these calls, I'm gonna miss Performance Club. And I've been Performance Club qualified for 2 years, right? If I don't make these calls, I'm not going to get the group opening bonus that I'm trying to get. I have to make this many calls in order to get that bonus. So sometimes it's the takeaway. What pain, how will this affect you negatively if you don't do it? Or how can I reward myself if I do it? So find out within your personality, which one is going to work better for you. And then you have to do that so that you can properly drive yourself into the right activity. Does that make sense? Put a 4 in the chat if that makes sense. So let's look at the intentional distraction method, right? This is one of our most effective sales call methods to distract you from focusing on what the prospect might say, as well as on what the outcome of each call will be upon completion, because that's what's running through your head. What are they going to say? Are they going to say something that I can't answer them? Are they going to say, we can talk now and I don't have a field trader set up for this appointment yet because I'm just dialing? What happens if I call a person and they're like, oh, I got a few minutes now, let's talk now, and you don't know what to say? These are the things that's running through your head, which is preventing you from making the calls, right? And guess what? You can't get away from that. There's going to be a time when somebody's going to ask you a question that you can't answer. It's going to be a time when you're going to say, hey, can I get 10, 15 minutes from you, set up an appointment, and you're planning on getting having a three-way call with a field trainer, but that person says, you know what, just go ahead and let me know what it is. We can talk now, I got a few minutes now, and you not be prepared. That's going to happen because you're making sales calls. So this isn't about whether this is going to be the call that's going to happen on. You need to get your mind away from all of that and just concentrate on moving the marbles. If you say, okay, let me get up, right? And it's all about what you say, right? So some of you all here believe in I am statements, right? Affirmations. It's all about how you set yourself up. Are you going to your office to make calls, right? Or are you going to the office to move these marbles? That is the mindset that you have to have. Even though moving the marbles results in you is the result of you making phone calls, sometimes you have to trick your brain and say, well, let me go in here and move these 50 marbles. And that really does work because your brain is still not, right, being turned on to the fact that you're about to make calls, which means it doesn't flood you with all of the things that's going to scare you to death. Does that make sense? Put a 5 in the chat. So all you're doing is you're setting yourself up with this method by making it all about counting marbles, not about making phone calls. And if you say, I got to go count these marbles, and then you pull your prospect list out and you put your marbles there inside the glasses, and then you make a call and you move the marble, you make a call and you move the marble, your brain is now focused on getting those 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 marbles over to the other glass. And guess what's going to happen in the process? You are making your phone calls, which means that you're going to make some money. It's plain and simple. But you've got to sometimes come up with a way to do it if cold calling or warm calling for some of you all is not your thing. If you don't have a problem with that, then you don't need to do this. But if you're having that problem, then you need to do this. So the marble movement system, right, MMS. The idea here is to focus on moving the marbles from one jar to the next. The marble movement system will distract you from the results of each call. If you just focus on emptying one jar and filling the other, the result of each individual call will take care of itself, right? So it goes back to the results. We don't ever count results, we only count activity. It's just like when you goal setting. Don't ever set a goal that you're not in control of 100%, right? Because that's not a goal. If I say I'm setting a goal to close 20 people tomorrow, that is an improper goal because you don't have control of whether you close 20 people tomorrow. But what you do have control over is how many people you call. The results will take care of themselves, right? Or like Bill Walsh said it, right? Don't focus on the scoreboard. Right? Somebody else is keeping the score. If you score, that scoreboard is going to change. You don't need to pay attention to the scoreboard. You need to pay attention to the people on the field, right? You are making dials. You are moving marbles. You are selling a product or a service. When you pick up that phone, you've got no control of what they say on the other side. You've got no control of whether that turns to a client or not. All you have control over is doing what you're trained to do, which is market that program to the prospect on the other end of the phone. That's your job. You cannot control the result of that call. So if you just focus on moving the marbles, because what? You've got total control of moving those marbles. You have 100% control over moving those 50 marbles over. You do not have 100% control on whether 20 people are going to say yes or whether you're going to set 5 appointments, right? It's okay to have in the back of your mind, I would like to, but I promise you, if you just control your results by controlling your activity, you'll have more control over it, right? That's like the reins on a horse. The reins on a horse is what controls the horse, right? Not somebody saying go left, go right, go straight, stop, right? You don't talk to a horse that way. You control it with the reins. Control your results with your activity. So if you say, I sold 5 plans last month and I made 300 calls, well, if you want to sell 10 plans the next month, then you probably need to make 600 calls. You see what I'm doing? I'm controlling my result by controlling my activity. Now, there's going to be a plus minus error there, of course, but I promise you, you're going to get closer to closing 10 by calling 600 than you are by making it a goal to just close 10 people. It's not going to work that way for you. And all it's going to do is keep setting you up for one disappointment after the next. But if you say, I'm going to make 600 calls this month, and you make 600 calls, guess what's going to happen? Data, facts. What's going to happen is you're going to make 600 calls, and you may close 7 people. You may close 8 people. And you say, okay, I didn't double my sales. But now guess what I do know? If I make 600 calls, I will close 7 or 8, or whatever you close. So you always have data after the activity. When you speculating, it's all speculation. So if you just double your activity, you'll know how many you will close because once you're done doing that activity, you'll have that closing. Plus, not to mention that some of those people are going to close later. So if you make 600 calls this month, right, you might close somebody 2 months from now, 3 months from now from those calls. That's why you are supposed to consistently call. Because if you consistently call, you will consistently close because you won't always close from who you just called. Sometimes you close them based on calls you made 2 or 3 months ago, right? Put a 6 in the chat if that makes sense. And lastly, get a Marble Madness accountability partner. And we've talked about this before, right? With the MMS, which is the Marble Movement System, while that system wonders for daily sales calls, works wonders for daily sales calls, having a Marble Madness accountability partner to Zoom with during your allotted B2B or B2C calls will assist you with your confidence level. Having a partner will also give you someone to vent and laugh with in between your sales calls. They will also hold you accountable. So how do you set this up, right? We've talked about this before, but I know there's always new people. There's always people that's not in front of their screen. They're not taking notes. So right now I've got it on a form that you can take with you because you have the link for it. All you need to do is set your Zoom up, right? Have your Zoom open. I don't care what device is on. It doesn't matter because what are you going to actually be using the Zoom to make your calls? That's just for your workout partner. And the good thing is you can have more than one workout partner. So let's just say, let's take some names. Let me look. Let's take Barbara, Al, Yolanda, Jerry, Isaac, Jody, George, Sharanda, Melissa. Let's say all of those people decided, you know what? I'm about to take this serious. I'm about to make some calls, right? And y'all all agree that y'all gonna make calls at the same time, right? On these specific days. And y'all all going to use the marble madness mindset. Y'all all going to have y'all marbles and y'all set up and y'all ready to go. All you guys need to do is one of y'all need to open up y'all Zoom, give the link to all the other people. And now all of you guys are on Zoom and that Zoom is just open. So I've got my tablet or my laptop or whatever it is open over here with the Zoom. And what am I seeing? I'm seeing my other call partners making calls. We're not talking. I just see them here making calls on the Zoom because their camera is open. So now I don't feel like I'm calling by myself. So I'm calling, I'm dropping my marbles, I'm calling, I'm dropping my marbles. And when I look over here to the right, I see my other 5 or 6 partners, they're making their calls too. And somebody might jump in the chat and say, yo, somebody just told me off, or I just got hung up on, or I just set an appointment. And now you're seeing your chat moving and people are saying, right, this happened good, this happened bad. But now you have that comfort level of saying, I've got other people here making calls with me. I'm not making calls by myself. Even though you may be in your office by yourself, you're making calls with people all over the country. And it just makes you feel better. The same way y'all feel good when y'all on the blitz. You don't have to just wait for the blitz. You can do that on your own. You can open up that Zoom with some people and say, look, y'all doing this on Tuesday. Let's do it on Wednesday. Let's do it on Thursday. I promise you're going to have some other people that's going to be willing to do it. And then now y'all just sitting there. Now you guys are creative. And now this is not, right? Because put a 6 in the chat or 7, whatever number we're on. I got an accountability partner, and sometimes it takes a month to find out that they ain't doing a doggone thing. Right? See, it's easy to find that out in the gym because if we go to the gym together and you can't lift the right amount of weight, this is the last day we're going together. You can't fake that. It only takes one time in the gym. But when a person is performance club qualified and you performance club qualified, and y'all saying y'all gonna make calls and you all excited, you found you a new workout partner and you like, I'm about to get it done. I got me an accountability partner, and that person don't show up. They don't show up. When you do it this way, y'all on Zoom together, y'all know y'all making calls, y'all looking at each other. You don't find out at the end of the month when they don't performance club qualify, they tell you they've been making 30 calls a day and they ain't sold 5 memberships. That's hard to believe. So you can find out a little bit sooner, right? Because now you are giving this person an exercise to do. Hey, let's make calls on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And that accountability partner say, yeah, let's do that. And then you checking in. Did you make your calls? And they lying. Yeah, I did. I made 30 calls. They made 3 and it was to their friend. Right? You don't know. You don't find out until you see the activity lagging that they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing. But if you guys are doing it on Zoom and y'all looking at each other, right? And y'all not looking at each other because y'all don't trust each other. It's about the confidence level. But guess what else is happening by osmosis? You know that they're making their calls because nobody's going to set up their Zoom for 2 hours and just sit there and act like they're making calls and they're not. Because if they're going to waste that kind of time, they might as well be making calls. So you don't know whether or not that person is dedicated. And when you get those accountability partners, you're going to see that everybody's numbers go up. Right? Not only do your numbers go up, but your confidence level goes up. And you also are getting more than one experience because everybody's making calls, everybody's giving you feedback. And now everybody's mistakes and everybody's wins, y'all having those all together. So now you're giving yourself stories because every day that you make calls, right, you move forward a little bit in your business because you're like, okay, I had something else happen bad. I had something else happen good, right? I'm getting experiences in this. This is making me feel better about doing it because I know it's working. Well, you're having at times, however many people are making calls with you. That's the benefit. And all it takes is for whoever to say, hey, we can use my Zoom, right? Here's the link we're going to go on tomorrow and everybody jump on at 10 o'clock, right? Everybody jump on at 10 o'clock. And again, make them accountable. So you can, once y'all are comfortable, y'all can start making it stricter for yourselves and saying, look, guys, we start making calls at 10 o'clock. At 10:15, we lock in the Zoom. If you ain't on by 10:15, then you gotta get on tomorrow. Like you gotta show up on time. We're making these calls. You can't be getting on at 10:30 whenever you feel like it. We getting on at 10, we making calls to 12. So at 10:15, we lock in the Zoom. So if you're on at 10:15, then you know what, you're making calls by yourself. You can swim with the sharks by yourself. And once you get that going, you'll realize that you got serious people working with you. You're moving up. You're making more calls. You get more confident. And again, you're learning from the mistakes of everybody else, and you're benefiting from the rewards of everybody else while you're doing that. So that's why this works. That's a way that you guys can do that. Hopefully that's helpful to everybody. I'm going to stop sharing my screen. And so John and Sharanda can jump in here as well. John and Sharanda?
No, it's great information, Robert. You have to sometimes surround yourself with motivational things too. Like in my car, right above my radio, I have a little sticker that says, "How bad do you want it?" You know, that just reminds me every time I go someplace, you know, I'm not going to sit in my truck and find excuses not to go in. I mean, how bad do I want to succeed? Or how bad do I want to sail? Or how bad do I want to go home? You know, it's a motive, just little, like, it's all mind games. It's all that it really is. Once you get past those mind games, it's automatic. Once you're in automatic mode, that's when the fun of this business really happens. That's when, you know, that's when the second of the month you're PC Pro qualified every month. And that's the fun thing to tell your other people you work with, you know, PC Pro, second of the month, and don't have to worry about it. You just build on the next level. And that's the beauty of this business. That's when this business is truly fun.
Absolutely, brother.
Yeah, awesome. Actually, you know, like I said, before corporate started doing the blitz, my workout partner and I did, we set up Zoom and that's what we did. We just made dials. We would be muted, and we still do that. We do it at least 2 to 3 times a week after the blitz. So we do the blitz, and then normally Wednesday and Thursday, sometimes Fridays, we get on and we make dials. And so we've been doing that now for about ever since we've been in COVID, because we actually switched from walking in to the calls. So, you know, and it does make a difference. So when corporate came out with the blitz, you know, you just feel the energy of everybody, you know, just making a dial. Somebody somewhere in this world is making a dial to a prospect along with you. And so it helps. And so, you know, if you haven't tried it, definitely try. It works. We definitely, you know, we after we get off, we, you know, tell our numbers. And so it's just accountability, more accountability for you. But the energy is phenomenal between you. You know, that Zoom is amazing. So if you haven't tried it, you definitely want to try it because it really works. It's hard when you're doing it by yourself, or you think you're doing it by yourself. But if you can look at somebody and know that they're doing what you're doing, oh my God, it just makes a difference. It really does.
Good stuff. So it's 9:26. Does anybody have any questions about what we just went over?
I had it wasn't a question, just a kind of comment, because now I remember when Sharanda used to do that, we would have these times where we would get on the phone, and it would be so many of us, you know, doing that, and it worked like that. But I always heard Sharanda she used to say that all the time about her and her workout partner. I don't know if I heard it on the CDL but I heard her say it a lot of times. So, and then she had a call. What is it called? Party. I call it a call party. But yeah, and we would be on there, and it makes a difference because you're not distracted. I won't go in there and start cooking because I know. I know they looking at me like, what in the world? Where's she go to? So, you know, so that's what makes it right. We be doing it there for real. And I'm like, okay, I got these 2 hours. I can't stop and go in there and make me no sandwich till I get off of this car. When we finish, I'll go make the sandwich. Before then, I'll be like cut the thing off the video. I be in there making a sandwich, doing something else, walking the dog, all that stuff that you said, Robert. But yeah, the cause is good doing it like that. It really does help a lot.
No, it does. And it's funny because, and I don't know if there's anybody on here on this call tonight that is from my area. Well, I used to be a regional manager like 5 years ago in Jacksonville, Florida. And we used to do the call parties. Like I used to go, and we used to go to the Dunkin' Donuts with the private room. I would pay $25 for the private room, and the people in the marketplace would come there and we would sit in the room and call prospects. We would sit there and call prospects. Like people would just be hammering out, and then you had three-way call people right in the room. So it would be, I don't know, some days it was 15, 20 of us, right? That would be in there. And we would meet there at a certain time, and we would sit in that room, and everybody would bring their list. And this was networking. We was doing networking calls. And if somebody got somebody on the line and need three-way call, you had experts in the room. Everybody was making calls. So it was almost like a little call center. And we would just rent a little space at Dunkin' Donuts and do it. And it made people make dials more because they feel encouraged. And because there was a lot of people in there, sometimes people would get on the call, they would dial. And when they got somebody, they would walk out the room and go walk out in the parking lot and talk or whatever. But it encouraged them to make calls because they didn't feel like they was by themselves. Right? And people in there, we drinking coffee and we hanging out, and you know, people enjoyed it. It was a way for people to do IPA, income producing activities. So it really does work. That company really does work. And I think that's why the Blitz goes so well for corporate, because everybody they sitting at home, these people sitting at home, and they know that all these other people in the company are making calls at the same time. Yeah, people want to be a part of something. Absolutely.
And don't let, like, I will say, don't let someone else, like, we give ideas here, like Dunbar talked about the calls. John talks about walking in a lot, you know, but he made calls too, you know. But don't let someone else way of doing the business, don't let them sell that as the only way. Just give yourself an opportunity to try different ways, you know, because what works for one person may not work for you. You know what I'm saying? So just give yourself an out and just try it. Like, it's hard. I'll tell anybody, you know, I used to think walking in was the way to go. Making a dial, I was like, they can't see my smile, my personality, you know, but I knew if I could walk in, it was going to be better. And I was like, I just can't make dials. Not that I really gave it a chance, but still, when you don't have an option, you figure it out. But I'll be the first to say, I still don't like to make dials, but you know, I do it anyway. Has it worked for me? It has. I got the ring at home, right? But don't let somebody else make you feel that's the only way. Give yourself an opportunity to fail forward. So maybe dials isn't your thing, or maybe you switch it up. Like John is doing both. I'm not going out, not yet. Not to talk to people at trucking companies, but I go out. So I'm just saying, I don't want nobody to say, well, she just a hermit. No, I go out. I just haven't transitioned my business to go back out to GWC. And for the new people, that's Go Walk Your Community. I just haven't done that personally. We just talked about it, me and Donna, this weekend. I had a memory came up with Truckers Appreciation, and Dunbar, y'all probably can remember, we spent 3 days at this trucking company, you know, just grilling and cooking and hanging out with the drivers. And it came up in my photos. And I was like, wow, I remember that, right? Like 2018, I think it was, maybe. But I just want, you know, I just share that. Don't let anybody else way they do the business and it supposedly work for them make you feel like that's the way you got to do it. Just try it all kinds of ways. You know, think outside of the box, you know, with the business, you know, and see what works for you. You'll be surprised that, you know, somebody else might say, oh, that don't work, and you do it and it's working, right? So just try, just give it a chance, give yourself a chance. I'll say that, okay? If that helps. Because I know the phones can be scary,
Mhm.
you know, because people cuss you out, people hang up. But you know, just think about somebody put it in there. It's just a no. So if we can get past that thought, right?
Yeah.
So, but if you do it a little bit a day, you don't have to sit there and bust out 50 calls. But maybe you're not doing any dials and you do 2. Maybe you just do 1. Shoot, 1 might be like John said, go man, go get you a coffee, celebrate that 1. Shoot, whatever. Go to the movies after that and watch your whole 2-hour movie. After that 1 call, man, that might have been a lot. That 1 call might have been, it might have been a lot.
The icebreaker.
Right, yeah. Celebrate that and then go back the next day and do 2. Just whatever works for you. That's again tricking your mind. So
Yeah, do it in moderation. I agree 100%. Yeah, and if you want to walk in, like, because I'm a walk-in person too. Like I've done both because I've had to do both for different reasons. But I love to walk in. I'm a walk-in person. I used to go do the T formation, and I've opened groups both ways. So they both will work, but you have to do what fits your personality. You have to try the different things and then say, okay, which one am I more comfortable doing? Which one do I feel more, myself doing? It's like we talk about the scripts. Look at different scripts, right? Look at Lamar's script. Look at the stuff that Sharanda is saying to say. Look at the different people that say these different things. Try them and see which one you feel more comfortable. Whatever one you feel more comfortable with, that's what you should go with. Go with what makes you comfortable, because the more comfortable you are, the easier it's going to be for you to say these things. So that's why
they create their own script. They may create their own script. Don't make them feel like they have to start out with nobody's script. Create your own script.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they can definitely create their own script. Yeah. Yeah. But you just gotta
speak to Rob.
Huh?
It might just say me speak to Rob.
I've actually found sometimes that Sharanda and Robert that I might be driving or somewhere, just my mind wandering, and a script come in my mind. But you want to have, and by the time you get home, you forgot all about it. So it might be something worthwhile recording or writing down. Just stop and pull over and say, "This is a great idea." And I had one of those brainstorms today. I got a new script today. I'm going to use a tryout. But yeah, you just if I have those moments in your Legal Shield life, where I said, that's a wonderful way to say what I want to say, and try it out and try different things out. But be able to record what your thoughts are sometimes, because if you let it go too long, you'll never remember what it was, and you have to rely on the scripts like Lamar Reynolds, which is tried and true, or some of the other scripts that you have. But you want to create your own script to your style, your liking.
Yeah, John, and like John said, just then you get this great idea, but I will say, if you don't ever call, you don't know what'll work. You know what I'm saying? Lamar's script might have worked if you had a call. Somebody else's script might have worked had you call. But if you don't ever call, you never know. So you might use Lamar's script and you just maybe can't get it out like that. And you think, well, God, I say it like this, I can say it. But you got to just do it.
Yeah. So some of you all are selling the membership to yourself over and over again in the mirror, but y'all don't never sell the membership to nobody else. Because you keep on trying to see whether it's coming out right. And I'm like, coming out right for who? They don't know what you're going to say. Right? So it's like you're trying to make a script perfect for a person that don't know what you're talking about in the first place. Right? So it's, if they don't know anything, I mean, they know about the industry, but I mean, they don't know about what you're going to talk about. When you go to talk, they're listening and you turn it into a conversation. But we plan on going and talking at somebody to sell them something. And the problem is when you're going to talk at somebody to sell them something, you get nervous, just like you would be if you was going to train on stage. People are coming, they're waiting for you to get on stage and deliver some information that's going to change their life. That's not what you're going to do. You're going to have a conversation with somebody. You're calling to have a conversation with somebody, and at the end of that conversation, either they're interested in what you have to offer or they're not interested in what you have to offer. And that's really where it's at. And I think we just complicate that in our brain. And that's why I think just pick up the phone and dial and see where things go. You'll realize that sometimes you'll make a friend. Sometimes it's just about you call and you make that friend, and that person, you don't know what that person on the other line is dealing with. So sometimes you that call, that's a blessing for people. I've had my best call situations were always unexpected. It was never the call that I thought was going to be my best call. You know, it's just like when you recruit somebody into a business, right? You recruit them into this business, and it's like the person that you think gonna go be on fire, he don't do a doggone thing. And the people that you recruit, and it's almost a mistake, or it's like that person don't seem like they're that interested. You be like, where all those memberships come from? And it be somebody that you ain't even talked to but once, and they selling whatever they put their hands on because they'll just talk to people. You just never know. And that's the thing. We are always trying to play God. If you believe in God, we're trying to play God. We're trying to be the person that makes the call, makes the script, know what the person gonna say, know what they're gonna buy, and know how the deal gonna close. And unless we know all of that, we don't make any phone call, and that's a big mistake, right? One way to find out and know if you're doing it the wrong way is to do it. One way to find out if you're doing it the right way is to do it. But if you don't do nothing, I promise you ain't gonna make no money on this call 8:30 to 9:30. Ain't no money to be made here. We just training. So getting on this every week is not gonna help unless in between Mondays and Thursdays, you're making some phone calls to close some people out so that you can make some money. That's where that's at.
And I know all three of us are trainers, just you're not trying to hold them, but I know all three of us are trainers, CDLP trainers. But a lot of those people that put numbers in the, and I'm not calling you out, I know I haven't talked to you, and maybe the other trainers have. But I think people are scared to reach out to people because of sharing, sales, or don't understand how field training works. Sometimes you just need to connect with somebody to help you. Like this call is 30 minutes, 45 minutes, but calling up John or calling up Dunbar or me, or, Alan, Chris and them, CDLP state trainers, and just maybe get some tips, just get a little time with them just to see, I think people are scared to connect with someone to help them, thinking, oh, they got to share and this, that, or the third. I mean, we're here to help. This is a voluntary position as field trainers and state trainers, and so, maybe if you just connect with somebody just to, let them hear your script, if you have a script, and just see what they say, give you some feedback, and then maybe go do it. I think people get scared to connect with people. But the great thing about it, I will say too, it's a lot of individuals that get on this call, just like I did over the years. I mean, and I connected with people on this call. You could call like a George. George is a straight salesperson. That's his background, that's his thing. But George would give you some great tips because he does sales. We do sales. And, and he's learning his way. But Gene, everybody's on here. Everybody on here can connect with somebody on here that doesn't have what you think a title and accountability. And you'll find support just connecting with another associate. And you just don't know how that will make your business go. For a long time, I didn't have a workout partner. And until Don and I became workout partners, I had never had a workout partner. And I had been in the business 5 or 6 years. But when I got a workout partner, that changed my whole business. So if you never connected with somebody, and this is just accountability, try it. I mean, try it. It'll change your business.
No doubt. John, anything else on closing? Good over there?
No, that's good. I think that's wonderful training today. We have Arjon. Arjon's a new CDLP trainer in California, and he's called executive director on his own activity. So I think everybody on this call should probably give him a call for training. Just
Don't
kidding.
do him like that, because don't do that. He's still
Just kidding.
training. Don't do him like that. But I mean, he is. I mean, he's been writing on his own pen, but don't do him like that. Yeah.
Gotta have a little fun in this business, right?
Huh?
Gotta have a little fun in this business, right?
I know, but people out here take you serious. On here, it's no joke. It's what ran straight out of the business. So.
So don't forget the 24th. It's the 24th. John Hoffman and Alan Roman will be training. So get prepared for that. Make sure you register ahead of time, guys, for that training. It's on the CDLP Facebook page. The link is there. I know I sent out one email about it too as well. I'll be sending another one out this week. Sharonda's accountability calls on Thursday, so make sure you're getting plugged into that as well. We'll be here again next Monday, going over some more information to help you guys with your CDL sales. So we thank you guys for hanging out with us on this Monday, once again, another Monday, and we'll see you guys next week, Monday. Appreciate you guys.
Somebody said they're going to get their marbles in the morning.
Good stuff. That's what I'm talking about. Get them marbles, man. Dang those marbles out.
I got sharp pennies I'm using.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, that's crazy too, because you don't even have to use marbles. Whatever you can throw from one job to the next is all gonna do the same thing psychologically. There you go.
I already got my marbles.
Yeah, have a good day.
These donuts too.
Hey, thanks a lot.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Hey, guys, this was a fantastic meeting, trainers. Thank you so much.
Oh, you got it. Absolutely. Thank you for the support too, Jim.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you. How are you?
Everyone.
Look like your podcast doing good there, Melissa.
It is amazing. Yes, I love it. I'm about to have you on. Like Coach Sharon, I'm about to have her on too as a guest.
Yeah, absolutely. You know I'm down.
Yep.
Give me
Okay.
just reach out to me, you know it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's my thing. Any platforms and stuff like that, I love doing that stuff. So,
Yep, me too.
Yeah, get it in.
All right, I'll reach out to you. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
All right.
Hey, Jody.
Good night, all.
All right, good night.
All right.
I'm gonna use Jax.
Huh?
I'm gonna use Jax.
Jackson.
Yolanda Brown said she's gonna use Jax.
Hey, you talk. Don't do that. There's some people that are like, "What is Jax?" They don't know what Jax is.
I have a lot of jacks. I have a lot of jacks.
Do you really?
I have a lot of jacks. When I go get marbles, I use my jacks.
That's what I'm talking about. I ain't seen Jax in a minute, boy.
Boy,
Some cookies. I
you're,
can-
you're dating
every time
yourself
I pick
there
a phone,
talking
I-
about Jack. Oh my
Yeah.
goodness.
Shoot, we can even use popcorn as long as we ain't hungry.
Oh Lord.
That's what I said. I'm gonna use my cookies every time I make call or eat a cookie. I love cookies.
Don't do that. Don't do
Like,
that.
how many cookies did I eat again?
Yeah.
Don't do that. Don't do that.
All right.
Wow.
You guys have a great evening. Thanks a lot for everyone.
All righty.
All right.
Right.
Have a
Thanks
good
for
one.
being
Good night, Joe.
Sweet.
Thank
Have
you.
a wonderful
Good
day.
night.
All
right, everybody.
Oh, Robert,
Yes.
just to let you know, I downloaded your link and it arrived in my Gmail. So apparently it's now working. It's just I have cut off so many messages. I guess that's why I haven't, nothing's shown up. So
Oh, you unsubscribed to so much stuff you ain't getting nothing no more.
apparently so, yeah.
That's a good thing.
But I just did a try and it worked.
Good stuff.
Your message arrived safely.
Okay, good. All
That's
right.
what I'm
So that
looking
means you're getting good stuff, brother.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah,
Now,
thank
and I'll be talking to you. Well, no, you're not on tomorrow night. Saturday. I'll have you on Saturday. Yeah.
Yeah, I got. I went over to the dollar store and I got me 4 journals for the 4 areas there, so I can start recording.
Oh, start doing some journaling. Good stuff.
Absolutely, had a tremendous day yesterday in the decluttering exercise.
Good stuff.
Unbelievable it was.
I love it. I love when
We got a
people
new
do stuff
printer
that-
out of it.
Yeah, you gotta tell us about that too on the call on Saturday on the call.
Yeah, I
we
would.
need to hear that. All right.
Yeah. Okay, well, thanks so much. Tonight it was
Absolutely,
really,
guys.
really